Before I go, I've got two other stories that unfortunately we didn't manage to bring to you, and they concern Minister Malusi Gigaba, and he has been in Parliament. Now, the Department of Public Enterprises has budgeted 113 billion rand in investment for the 2013-2014 financial year, and this was said in Parliament, as I said. Now, almost two-thirds of this, that's about 68 billion rand, is going to be plugged into Eskom. We know that Eskom has been building 3 new power plants. We've got Kusile, we've got Medupi, and of course we've got Ingule. Now, the Minister of Public Enterprise, Malusi Gigaba, gave that assurance today that Medupi will be generating electricity before the end of the year, despite, of course, the delays that we have seen, which are suggesting otherwise. The minister is also saying Eskom is going to be spending close to 337 billion rand over the next 3 years, and 82% of this funding has already been secured. Now, the minister, as I said, was in Parliament. It was fielding questions, and one of the questions that came through was on South African Airways. And you remember, South African Airways was in the papers today. They are taking delivery of 20 Airbus A320 aircraft next year to the value of 10 billion rand. Now, funding of this aircraft is in the final stages, and the minister is saying that this will be done fully on South African Airways balance sheet, so there will be no call on the taxpayer to try and bail out South African Airways again. And also, the minister is talking about the fact that he's trying to see if he can leverage pension funds which are associated with various state-owned companies and see if they can help, of course, in the infrastructure rollout that we know the government is embarking on now. Various figures fly around that. There's of course the more than R1 trillion that the president has announced last year, and there's more, of course, that the minister has been talking about today. So there is indeed a lot of work that the government is doing around the infrastructure rollout. We know there have been questions that have been raised by the rating agencies about the government's ability to fund that. There have also been questions raised about the cost of funding that infrastructure, because we do know that South Africa's costs have been going up after the troubles that we had at the beginning of last year, which troubles resulted in South Africa being downgraded by the rating agencies, which means, of course, that when the government does go out on international markets to borrow money, the international investors do demand more money. That story that I was talking about from Minister Malusi Gigaba is now ready. Let's see if we can listen to what he had to say in Parliament.
What we know is that the state-owned companies in our portfolio have got a massive capital and procurement spend, procurement and operational spend. This massive spend which they have, we want to direct it more aggressively towards supporting the SMME sector, particularly black industrialists, because we believe that we need to intervene through this resource. When you look at the budget of 113 billion rand for this year, it's quite massive. And so we are doing work to develop a program which, as I say in the speech, we will unveil, the details of which we will unveil during the course of the year. Obviously, together with that, is to look at the pension funds of these state-owned companies and how they are being used. The question is, if you look at the 530 billion rand that the private sector is not investing in the economy, you might find there that some of the biggest investors making up that 500 billion rand are pension funds of state-owned companies in our portfolio, others in other portfolios, including the PIC. Looking at how the pension funds of the state-owned companies in our portfolio, how those pension funds are being used to invest. We want them to put pressure on the companies in which they've invested to actually invest in the economy, be it in the infrastructure development program or in other productive activities. This is work that is still at its infancy.